the meeting, in particular Emma, and it's Leslie, the head and deputy head from Bishop Vaughan, and of course Sam, who's chair of governors in Bishop Vaughan. So welcome the three of you to the panel. Also, obviously, Robert, Helen, and Ian, who are going to be taking part later on. So thanks and welcome. Are there any apologies?
We've had one apology from Yvonne Jardine.
Okay, great, thank you. Any others that anybody knows? No. If there are any disclosures of a personal and prejudicial interest, could you let Michelle know, and she can send you the relevant form? Okay. Okay, thank you. The next one is minutes of there are two previous meetings on the 26th of June and the 30th of June. Can I they've been circulated with obviously the notice of this. Can I take them as a true record? Any comments? If there aren't any comments, I think we can take them as a true record. So thank you for those two. And also letters from those meetings as well were sent out to you to note. We're getting through this at a rate of knots. The next one is public question time. There are no public questions, so we move on very quickly to an important part of the agenda, which is highly effective teaching, and it's Bishop Vaughan Catholic Comprehensive School. And could I hand over to Team Bishop Vaughan so you can sort of manage it in the way that you want to?
Thank you so much, Councillor Jones. Is it possible, am I okay to share the screen? Is that okay, Michelle?
I'm sure
Sorry,
you can.
just coming back. Yes, the only thing is anything that you share on the screen has to be in English and Welsh, or Welsh and English.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll pop that there now. Let me know if this is visible. Hopefully it is.
It is.
There we are, lovely. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you so much for inviting us to the meeting. And as you welcomed Leslie, I'd just like to outline that Leslie is our experienced deputy head teacher. She's also a qualified and experienced Estyn inspector, so her expertise certainly put us in a good position ahead of January's Estyn inspection, about which we've asked to come along and speak to you today. So we had a little look at the agenda and the briefing pack that you kindly sent through to us to ensure that we put together material that responds to what you asked of us. So you asked us to look at key aspects of effective teaching at Bishop Vaughan. And this invitation, as I said, seems to follow the positive Estyn report of January 2025. And these, we believe, were the points that you asked us to look at. I know that the text on the screen is a little small there. However, we'll draw them out and we'll aim to respond to them throughout this meeting. Rather than take them in the order that they were published in the pack that came to us, what we thought we'd do is provide an overview that gives a sense of how we bring about overall success for our pupils by starting at the roots, with the beginnings, the foundations that establish first for the students a positive and inclusive learning environment, this being one of the first items that you picked out in your agenda pack. So this is critical because, bluntly, and I'm sure those of you who visited the school will attest to this, we could really have one of the least cohesive schools in the city. But we believe we have the very opposite. I know that we're biased there, but there's much that we have to consider in bringing about that cohesion. So we have to craft with real care an inclusive and positive setting whereby pupils feel deeply rooted in the school, as the inspectorate commented on when they visited. The reasons that we have to craft it with care are because of our context. So you can see there some of the key aspects of our school's context. We have a very culturally diverse school, as was celebrated yesterday. We have over 76 languages spoken in our pupils' homes. It's certainly a socioeconomically diverse context because over 50% of our learners live in Wales's 20% most deprived postcodes. Pupils are scattered geographically. We're not a school that as many do, serves the roads surrounding the school as a community school. Pupils join us from all over the city since it's a faith school. And of course, it's academically diverse as well. So we do have to make extensive provision for our additional learning needs learners, as well as pupils in our sixth form who perhaps are striving for places at highly selective universities where there are many, many applicants for every single place. So given all of those differences in our community then, we know it's particularly important to foster a sense of belonging, and every child needs to be imbued with a sense of belonging if they're to succeed in our setting. If we think about it, the range of cultural experiences and perspectives and so on that sit behind 76 languages in themselves could be a barrier to cohesion and certainly to ensuring a true sense of belonging. So we've considered carefully how we ensure that sense of belonging, not by eradicating difference, but by celebrating it. We ensure that our pupils feel deeply rooted in the school to give them a solid foundation in which they can learn and from which they can flourish. I remember attending some lovely professional learning with Professor Mairead Hopwood, highly respected academic, who quoted Goethe on this subject, and thinking that she had it spot on with what she was quoting to us there. That's what we're trying to do. Goethe said there are only two lasting bequests that we can give our children: roots and wings. Roots to give them a foundation and a sense of belonging, but also wings effectively to help them fly. And as she quoted, I thought that's exactly what we try to do at Bishop Bourne. That's it, spot on. We need to give our pupils roots in order that in the future they can fly. So we try to ensure strong roots by ensuring unequivocally that our pupils feel that true sense of belonging in the school of which I've spoken. And we do that by focusing on numerous areas, these principally, but we work to strengthen all of these areas: inclusivity, positivity, engagement, well-being and belonging. And one of the strategies for doing this is by strengthening pupil voice. We have an exceptionally strong sense of pupil voice, as those who visited us yesterday again will attest to. But our school council is very extensive. We actually have over 160 school councillors on it, and those are representatives of the school as ambassadors or councillors. And they support the sixth form leadership team, who really do lead on so many areas of this and the school's work. We were delighted that the inspection team noted that teaching practices too contributed significantly to pupil wellbeing, creating a strong sense of belonging and ensuring that pupils feel safe and supported. And we knew that that had been a direct result of ensuring that sense of belonging and those strong roots. In terms of ensuring that sense of belonging, and I know I've referenced a couple of you visiting the school yesterday, principally we do that through getting the school year off to a very positive start that focuses on belonging with our annual Festival of Peace. And that's now in its 5th year, and that area of our work was spotlighted by Aston. Those of you familiar with Aston reports will know that they typically will spotlight, say, 2 areas in a school they believe to be particularly strong. So the festival is a week-long celebration of the cultural identities that make up our school, the celebration of our shared values in particular. And our pupils were invited to speak to full council about this in about October last year, so I won't repeat what they shared on that occasion, other than to say that the week-long festival is essentially an exhibition, and you saw that yesterday as you came in, and typically it will have contributions from every department on an academic concept related to our pupils' capacity to be the change makers of the future. You can see there our periodic table of peace and our pupils' exploration of how Wales has had an international role with Welsh in terms of Welsh peacemakers. So it's when we began the festival, it started off as just being an event for our pupils. It was purely for them to access it. But it's grown year on year, and typically now we have visitors from Welsh Government, yourselves as councillors, educational bodies, other schools often ask to attend it. And it's certainly becoming more and more successful because our pupils provide guided walkthroughs of the exhibition, as you can see there. They give a short performance programme with some choral items too, all delivered with a real sense of pride about who they are and the stake that they have in their school. That sense of belonging really does feel very vibrant on these particular days. We actually have a series of 4 festival programmes, however, throughout the year, and you can see their focuses there. They are peace, family, sense of family in terms of the school being a family in particular. Festival of Health, which focuses on health rights and well-being for life, and a Festival of Culture. The last of these, the Festival of Culture, is predominantly a festival of music and literature and the arts. And all of those open up avenues for our pupils to take the reins in celebrating both who they are and what the school stands for. They offer our pupils the chance to be creative and ambitious, as the Welsh curriculum asks us to do that, and to consider their direction in life and to truly aspire. You can see some typical events that might take place during the Festival of Culture. This is just one of the festivals, as I say, each of them being a week long. And you can see the enriching cultural experiences that they can access, which include live music, something that many pupils may never experience unless they get to do these things at school. The Culture Festival typically begins with an exceptional series of concerts for all pupils from a male voice choir with whom we're linked. And then it moves into a very, very busy week with lots of author visits, writer workshops, talks from academics, artists, historians come in. We have music gigs, we have activities, we have sports people, we have former pupils and many more. As I say, we know that that's critical because if our pupils don't experience some of these things through their school time, they won't perhaps experience them at all. So we bring the experiences to them. It may be difficult for them to get to these experiences in the summer holidays. We bring the experiences to them. This festival, by the way, takes place in the week immediately preceding the summer holidays. We've even had exhibitions loaned to us by the Egypt Centre, and Swansea Arena colleagues come in to us. So we really do try to make use of all the city has to offer culturally. Now, although those festivals punctuate the school year and they fall practically equidistantly throughout the year, they can't be isolated instances on which we try to promote inclusivity, belonging, aspiration, and so on, those principles on which our school is rooted. Those principles have to thread through the year and they have to be lived throughout the year, and they do. So, for example, many of our pupils may have interests sparked through the Culture Festival, but then we continue the momentum that's been built there through masterclasses, which take place each and every week. We bring in speakers on our masterclass programme from those who are most successful in their fields, whatever they are, journalism, medicine, and so on. And we've got absolutely no shame in being bold in who we ask for. So our speakers have ranged from people like the deputy editor of the Times, who has travelled to Swansea just to speak to our pupils for one of the weekly masterclass slots, to the editor of the Financial Times. The chief inspector of Eston has delivered a weekly masterclass. So we've had surgeons, politicians, civil servants, sports people, and lots more. We also make use of our alumni there because it's important for our pupils to know that they can hear from those who actually look like them, who've had the same school experiences, the same starting points in life. So that's our super curricular programme that threads throughout the year. It's super curricular because it's over and above the curriculum. It broadens and deepens their curriculum experiences. That complements then our extensive extracurricular programme, and you can see just a small sample of the activities there. We've actually got dozens and dozens of clubs, teams, and lunchtime activities that take place, in fact, lunchtimes and after school each week. And we do that because engagement is key. And this is something, again, that the inspector are very interested in, because we all know that attendance is the challenge nationally, and we need to think as carefully and as broadly as we can about giving our pupils a reason to walk through the gates each day. So we aim to do that by giving them lots of activities, keeping them engaged and active in their learning, and also encouraging them to make decisions and choices about how to actually choose and opt to become ever more actively involved themselves. We get them involved then when they have had a period of some time in the school, and particularly getting our sixth form pupils looking back, in considering together which aspects of their extra and supercurricular provision have been most beneficial to them, the things they found most important and the things they've really valued by the end of their time together in school. And from those, they worked together to construct what we've called our entitlement charter. So those are the 20 experiences that they've typically valued most by the end of their time in Bishop Vaughan. And they've become a set of commitments, if you like, that we make to our students about what they will experience during their educational journey with us. During their 5 or 7 years with us, we commit to these 20 things chosen by your peers as important and life enhancing and shaping experiences. Your paper then drew out from the Eston report that Eston had commented on our strong Catholic values, and that they had noted that effective teaching is underpinned by strong Catholic values, promoting spiritual, social, moral and cultural development alongside academic growth. Now, we were absolutely delighted that Eston had picked up on this, because typically Eston need not comment on the faith life for school, and typically that might be done by a diocesan team when they do their inspection, which for us is due any day now. But Eston did pick up on this and chose to comment on it because they felt it was so integral to school life that it needed comment. So we were particularly pleased that they've noted it, because it truly does underpin all we do. We have an absolute commitment to all of our pupils flourishing to fulfil their potential. We have absolute belief that this must be irrespective of the starting point that they have in life. What Welsh Government terms as breaking the link between the starting point in life, or the disadvantage that a pupil might experience early in their life, and their destiny, is a principle that we hold really dear at Bishop Bourne. The Catholic Church has that same outlook and philosophy, and in fact established its schools in order that they had what they termed to be a preferential option for the poor. So it really does underpin all that we do, and it underpins Catholic social teaching. Our staff and even our pupils can articulate clearly the difference between equality and equity, and they know the importance of our work and our duty, in fact, to the school to level up, to ensure that the playing field is levelled for pupils that need that little bit more support, so that no pupil ever has any barriers to attainment that we could be instrumental in removing. Eston were particularly interested in the common thinking on the priorities that we have as a Catholic school and that Welsh Government have on character development. The 4 core purposes set out by the Curriculum for Wales articulate clearly a vision for whole person development, and I think we really embraced that when it was published in Education in Wales, our national mission, because it's certainly very much what we're about. We've always believed that we are not to be exams factories, but that we have to nurture ambitious, creative, ethical and informed young people who are contributing positively to the world around them whilst they fulfil their own potential. So you can see the Catholic pupil profile there on the left of the, you can see the 4 core purposes there on the left of the screen. On the right of the screen, you can see a very similar set of values being set out in what's called the Catholic pupil profile, which is something that we work towards. You can see the attributes that we try to nurture for those in our care. If we're nurturing ethical and informed learners via the 4 core purposes, we're certainly to informing, creating pupils who are discerning. For example, in the Catholic pupil profile, there's true alignment, there's true commonality there. So we have those 2 graphics as our vision and clearly defined steps to making them happen, rather than simply holding them simply as a vision, something different and perhaps as something distant and perhaps something that we might just try to attain by default. We've got very clear steps towards achieving that, and certainly we try to ensure that all of our staff and pupils understand that that's what we're working towards also. The inspectorate could see that we have an unrelenting focus, in fact, on whole person development, and they could see through their lesson observations that it was key to our pupils' engagement in lessons. And while improving grades absolutely isn't the be all and end all, it's not the focus of our work in terms of personal development and character development. It inevitably, if we do focus on nurturing the whole person, we end up with our pupils actually achieving results that belie the starting points they had in life. If you nurture the whole person, the young people that we serve will end up doing far better than they ever believed they could. So Eston looked at our data in this regard, and I'll just share with you a couple of items from this data. It does come from the All Wales core data set, but we've removed any information that may disclose other schools' performance there. You can see there the the graphs show where pupils may be expected to achieve. The modelled outcomes would be on the line, and the item you're looking for in each of these is the pink dot. So our school's performance, the pink dot. So the graphs show that our pupils attain above modelled expectations across the range of the graphics that you'll see here. You can see their attainment in terms of English, mathematics and science with the pink line, with the family of schools, the local authority average and the Wales average being the other lines that you can see there. And obviously it might be easier to see this perhaps reviewing the information later on, but the top line in all instances is the pink one, and that's where Bishop Vaughan's pupils achieve. The graph shows us that the pupils achieve over and above then what we call the floor data, the family, the local authority and Wales data in every regard. And this was a particularly interesting graphic for us because it's the percentage of pupils attaining 5 A-star and A grades. We know that if we are able to ensure that our pupils achieve at this level, that the academic diet that they're receiving is rich and it does provide sufficient challenge. All of us know that the inspectorate are looking very closely at the moment on pace and challenge and whether pupils make progress within lessons. You can see that in that graphic in particular, the pink dot is very significantly above the line which models expectations, and all of the other blue dots show where other schools' achievement is scattered. So it very significantly exceeds modelled expectations, and it shows us that our pupils' diet is rich. You can see there the same information presented in a slightly different way, and not only does it show that pupils are exceeding modelled expectations at that top end, but also that they're bucking a national trend of slight decline in that area. So you can see that metric is declining in other schools, but it's continuing to rise quite significantly in ours. At this point, I'm going to hand over to Leslie, who's going to take you through some of the aspects of teaching and learning specifically. I've talked about the roots, how we try to ensure that our pupils have the right foundation and the right mindset in which to come into school, how we get them involved, and then perhaps what that leads to ultimately in terms of qualifications. But you need to know too about the nuts and bolts of how we get there in the classroom. So I'll hand over to Leslie. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emma. Hello and good evening, everyone. We note that you also drew out from the report in your last meeting, the comment from Estin that the school's provision effectively meets the needs of all pupils, including those who are vulnerable, ensuring that they make secure progress. Certainly for us, meeting diverse needs and hopefully you can see that they are truly diverse is essential to creating an inclusive and positive environment. The tailored provision for these needs in our school ranges from the foundation classrooms, which are effectively primary style classrooms for our pupils with additional learning needs, to our specialist staffed health and wellbeing base, our hub, for those whose needs and vulnerabilities concern emotional and mental health and wellbeing, to the full range of our highly trained pastoral staff and sixth form teams that supports students applying to highly selective universities. The Estin team also noted that whatever our pupils' starting points, they were supported to fulfil their potential, whether that was leaving our ALN classes with a full portfolio of qualifications that allows them to progress to post-16 education, or indeed whether that was to access Russell Group universities, including Oxford and Cambridge. So we really do serve a wide and diverse population here. However, whatever those starting points have been at Bishop Vaughan, we have identified the fact that both literacy and oracy are key facilitators of social mobility. They are indeed integral to our equity work. For this very reason, we've carried out extensive work in this area via a wide range of strategies to develop a very strong reading culture, and we were delighted that this was picked up, as you can see on the slide, to be a spotlight by Estin. Part of how we got there really relates to our close work with a variety of partners, and certainly we have worked closely with the National Literacy Trust to train our staff highly in the teaching of disciplinary literacy and to broaden their understanding of reading strategies within the classroom. In addition to this, we hopefully have created a lovely and nourishing environment for the children, whereby reading is praised and encouraged. Their shared reading lists are shared with them, and we have gift tokens for books. We have vending machines for books, and we try to model it as best we can for the children in terms of the Festival of Culture also. So looking on to the next slide, we can see that certainly the work that we've done with the National Literacy Trust has been strengthened even further by the work that we've carried out with Voice 21, which is an organisation which focuses on the development of oracy skills, speaking and listening skills in young people. And this certainly was very important to us as part of our wider literacy strategy. We understand that literacy, of course, involves reading, writing and speaking. And we've spent a huge amount of time working with this organisation on our questioning in the classroom and our methodologies to ensure that we elicit the very best responses from our pupils in the classroom. However, in order not to overwhelm the teaching staff, in order to ensure that our professional learning is sharply focused, we've considered carefully our professional learning offer. The professional learning offer takes account of the truly important factors affecting the workforce and focuses time, which is precious and indeed finite, on those areas which have the greatest capacity to ensure pupil progress. And that is very important to us. We try to exercise a high degree of discernment in the opportunities that we present to our staff to ensure that they secure the best gains for our students. Every decision that we take here in Bishop Vaughan is research-led in order to ensure that no resource is wasted, both time, money, and the considerable effort that goes into shaping provision. Therefore, there is respect for the workforce, and I think that's incredibly important, their well-being and the wider roles in life, hence careful consideration for the content and the mechanisms of professional learning. As referenced, all professional learning is research-led, it's research-informed, not just the what but the how. It's steered by the Education Endowment Foundation findings and their wide body of research on professional development and the most effective strategies to use in the classroom and to secure the best gains in progress for our students. Our professional learning offer is paced and it's precise, enough to support feeling prepared for education reform, but not to overwhelm and to overburden the workforce. We like to think that we have a laser focus on teaching and learning and leadership, professional learning as a means for improving these outcomes. And certainly we know that our professional learning is derived from close trusted sources. There's also an expectation of the impact on pupil progress and outcomes. We build in impact time into our inset programme and to our inset schedule so that we try to ensure that whatever the staff is learning, they will have the opportunity, which is built into our planning for professional learning sessions, to go away and to make changes to schemes of work, or to go away and to make changes to lesson resources, to make changes to their questioning, to their planning, which indeed will lead to hopefully better gains for our students. The results in lessons, or this results in lessons that are well structured and engaging and consistently build on prior learning, as was referenced in the report and in the papers from the last meeting. In Bishop Vaughan, we try to establish a cohesion between the curriculum offer that we have for our children, the professional learning offer that we have for staff, and the capacity building that we do. And I think this coherence is absolutely vital to us securing key gains in terms of the learner progress and in terms of the performance metrics that the school is measured against also. We also, in addition, we try to make sure that our well-informed staff are sufficiently highly trained to have high expectations for our pupils, inspiring them to take pride in their work and also to develop independent learning and a high degree of resilience. All of this has translated into success, which is evident in our pupil outcomes, their well-being, the ESTIN inspection report, and indeed in the national rankings. We entered the Sunday Times Times top 10 parent power guide in Wales 2 years ago, and this rose 2 places to become ranked 7th in Wales, which was really encouraging for our entire community, for the teaching staff and also for the students. In all that we do then, from our equity work to our building of a vibrant, positive and inclusive school culture, our festivals celebrating our school's work, which Emma has shared, and our work to encourage aspiration and ambition, and our absolute focus on supporting the pupils to gain the very best qualifications of which they're capable, we always keep in mind this key question on the slide there: what type of learner are we trying to form? Indeed, what type of person are we trying to nurture to send out into the world at the end of their time with us? And that's always central in our minds when we make decisions. Importantly too, we are fully committed to the city's vision for its learners and working hard in this aspect of your objectives as published in the corporate plan. This aligning too very naturally with our own our work in terms of the curriculum, the vision for the Welsh Government for its young people, the Catholic pupil profile, and the descriptions that we shared earlier regarding our young people being provided with the strongest of roots through their time with us, so that they are indeed given the wings to fly, as Emma mentioned earlier. We truly are delighted that the Inspectorate has recognised these aspects of our work as being highly successful, and we certainly remain committed to securing far further improvements, and we thank you for the opportunity to have joined you today. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. I have to say, that was all very impressive indeed. I mean, really impressive. So thank you all for what you're doing at the school. I'm sure there'll be a few questions or points anybody wants to make. There we are, Mike, Councillor Mike Day.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, thanks both for the presentation and obviously, from our own personal knowledge and from what you've shared, Bishop Vaughan is in a very strong position and does a wonderful work with the youngsters. I suppose my question would be relating to how transportable the principles that you've outlined, the practices that you've adopted would be to improving what goes on in other schools. Clearly, things like Catholic values would not necessarily be appropriate in all those settings, but the question is, how transportable is it, and do you get the opportunity, or how do you get the opportunity to share the benefits of your learning experiences with other colleagues in the secondary sector?
Thank you, Councillor Day. Yes, I think one of the things that we're very lucky about, particularly in Swansea, and we say this whenever we visit anywhere outside of the authority, is that the schools do work very closely together. There isn't that sense that you often get in many authorities of competitivity and holding to ourselves any particular practices that are working. Swansea has shared very readily anything that's working, and we've certainly drawn a great deal from other schools. I've had the experience of working as a school improvement advisor with 3 of the city's schools, and I know that through that work I've certainly gained as much as I've ever offered. So certainly there are opportunities to share it with Swansea schools, because we often create the opportunities within our meetings for sharing of effective practice. If something's working particularly well, for example, in relation to attendance, another school may share it with us, and we may share things related to values-based education and so on. And in addition, I think schools get in touch more widely too. If they've read something in an Eston report. So we've had quite a lot of interest since the Eston report on things like creating a sense of belonging, establishing a shared sense of values, establishing a shared sense of ownership of the school's vision. So I was asked to speak at a conference in Cardiff on those areas on Tuesday of this week. We've been contacted by a school in Torfaen about how we have developed a reading culture, because that was one of the areas that was spotlighted. And I know it's something that the Inspectorate are going to take an ever increasing degree of interest in over the course of inspections over the next few years. So we have opportunities simply because I think Swansea as an authority carves out opportunities for it, and then people naturally will get in touch with each other. We would do that with other schools too. So if we could see something going on that was really beneficial for school, for example, in terms of anti-racist practice and creating a sense of identity in a school, if there was some really strong practice on in terms of quality assurance, we've been in touch, and certainly the things that we've drawn from other schools have also strengthened practice here. So we were delighted that there was commentary on the areas on which we'd worked hard, and we will freely and do freely share with those Swansea schools that have interest. I do think it is transportable. Naturally, as you said, you can't necessarily pick up the work on Catholic values, but you can certainly pick up the work that is done throughout so many faith schools on creating a shared sense of mission, a shared sense of expectations, and of how a school operates and what its pupils should be showcasing.
Great,
Thank you. And I saw Ian nodding vigorously there in agreement. So Ian, perhaps you will say a little bit more about that later, or maybe the opportunity now, I don't know.
Right. Any other points? Or perhaps Ian, you'd like to come in on that?
Yeah, happy to come in now or later. I think Emma's point around knowing what professional learning the school needs is very important, and knowing their own priorities. And I think it's a very good example of a school we'd work with closely, but it would generally be the school coming and knowing their priorities well, and they'd work with us to develop our professional learning offer and also dip into it when they feel it's necessary. I think it's about confident and competent leadership at a school level to decide their priorities and working with us closely.
Great, thanks, Ian. Leslie.
Thank you, Councillor. I was just about to add in, actually, we have been very fortunate to work closely with Partneriaeth. We've benefited from a high amount of input in terms of professional learning from Anthony Jones and Jennifer Bell previously, who've worked on leadership and teaching and learning. So we've benefited from that. I think all schools that are able to access support still from Partneriaeth. I think the concepts of the research-informed pedagogy and the use of the Education Endowment and Foundation Toolkit, lots of schools do lean quite heavily on that still, and certainly that's a really strong body of evidence in terms of the best bets in a classroom to secure the most gains. So that is readily accessible by all schools, and I know a lot of schools do use it. I think what Emma has really successfully created in Bishop Vaughan is a culture, though, where coherence is also valued. So the linking up between the professional learning offer, the paced support for the staff, the paced rollout of the curriculum, the capacity building to ensure that the curriculum is carefully rolled out and evaluated, the idea of the that linking up and that coherence between the capacity building, and that's really been quite pivotal, I think, to being able to move forward as a strong community and to help make sure that we secure the gains with the children's progress. We've also found the organisations, the National Literacy Trust, have been absolutely superb, and we have worked closely with them on developing a programme of professional learning for our teachers over a period of 3 years, which stretched back to when we returned from just after COVID, and that has been absolutely superb. We did a whole school programme on developing reading across the school, and then we trained individual departments on the development of disciplinary literacy, and sort of tier 3 specialist keywords and tier 2 words. So almost the nuts and bolts for sort of the development of reading within the curriculum areas came from that, which again is accessible to all schools. And the Voice 21 work, which we've been very fortunate to benefit from. Voice 21 is an organisation which works with different schools to develop speaking and learning with children in a very carefully considered way. And again, all schools are welcome to work with Voice 21, and that I think their registration period opens towards the spring term and summer term. So I think there's a lot actually that could be shared. And as Emma said, I think we've been very fortunate as a school to benefit from many things from other schools, and we're always happy to share anything here also. Thank you.
Thank you. Emma's got a hand up. Emma.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. No, I just wanted to echo what Leslie said there in regard to the support that we accessed with Partner Area. I have shared this with Ian and with Anthony, who came in, and we shared it with the Inspectorate too, Ian, just so that you know. The provision that was offered on supporting middle leaders in particular to share a very clear vision and to ensure that that threaded through their work was a game changer for us with Eston, and we know well how timely that support had been and how well that then reflected in our inspection report. So that work on quality assurance and middle leadership was really strong. And again, just to echo a point that Leslie picked up there, we know that literacy is critical as an enabler for the curriculum. We know that it's critical in terms of ensuring equity and so on. And as you saw, we've done a lot of work on developing a reading culture. But our reason for working with Voice 21 was because we know that oracy is key to social mobility as well. And I think lots of us will have worked in a range of with a range of settings. You'll have visited a range of settings, and we will have seen that very often the knowledge base that a pupil actually has may be similar or identical or even slightly better than some of our pupils' knowledge base may be slightly better than those coming from more advantaged backgrounds. The difference, however, is that those from more advantaged backgrounds can generally articulate it better. They can express themselves with greater sophistication, and they can certainly verbalise their thinking in interviews when they're going for selective universities, and that translates into their written work for exams, which lead to the qualifications, as we've said, that they'll gain. But so it's really important to us to ensure that something that is readily available to those students is that we do ensure that they are able to speak in the ways that their more advantaged peers are able to.
Great, thank you. Leslie, you've got your hand back up.
I know, and just to also mention, we do share with the children that we love to hear their voices, and we feel that there's a moral imperative to encourage them to have their voices heard. We tell them that they're the change makers of the future, they're the counsellors of the future. So hopefully, you know, as soon as they get used to expressing their ideas with confidence and clarity and eloquence in school, we hope that that will carry on to help them to contribute to their communities in a meaningful way, and to the prosperity of their communities, the well-being and the prosperity of the nation as well.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Only thing I would add is that I was really impressed with your entitlement charter, which you know, is peer-led, and I think that was really important and you know, enlightening. So well done for that. And Mike has got his hand up.
Yeah, I mean, it clearly, you know, as we said, there's a significant amount of work that's going on, and I suppose the challenge, isn't it, for you in school leadership now is, you know, how do you take that on? What's the next step? Are we looking at incremental changes? Are we looking at a step change? What areas would you be thinking of? And in terms of moving on from where you currently are to perhaps where you'd like to be?
We've identified 3 key priorities at the moment, and they involve questioning. So we've done an awful lot of work on questioning with our staff, again, to make sure, as Leslie said, that we elicit the responses from our pupils that are going to move them on. We're doing some work on homework to make sure that it's meaningful. I know that it's a real hot potato at the moment about how valuable it can be. So we're doing some work on homework, and certainly too, I think a lot of schools are looking at the value of feedback that is provided to the pupils, and you will have seen through the Eston report that there are areas that we need to work on. I would say that actionable feedback is something that we're working on. We know lots of schools are trialling lots of different methodologies for making feedback more meaningful to their students. So we're focusing on those 3 areas. We began the year with Inset on those 3, and then they are repeated as themes through the departmental director time through the inset that we've got coming up. Did you want to add anything on those areas of change there, Leslie?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Emma. Just to say also that we have a large number of our departments managing the process of qualification reform at Key Stage 4. So therefore, having designed new curricula at Key Stage 3 for Year 7, 8 and 9, and having reviewed that incrementally, they're now working at stitching through some of the skills and the strategies that they've built in at Key Stage 3 from the curriculum design phase. Now they're stitching that through the qualification curriculum at Key Stage 4. So that's a large challenge, and some of the challenges are bigger in certain areas at the moment in line with the different waves of qualification rollout. So that's something that we're working on in line with all the other schools in Wales too. And that's a large challenge, and I think that's where this idea of coherence comes back in, to make sure that our professional learning offer is underpinning as best it can the demands on the workforce, and that we're managing the realistic demands on them to ensure the best gains for the student, the best provision for the student, and managing their well-being as well.
Great point, thank you. Any other questions or points anybody has to raise? Can't see any hands up. So can I say a real big thank you to the team from Bishop Vaughan. Really interesting information, and thank you for all the hard work that you've been doing. Really well done. Thank you. And I know you've got to go off now to is it a parents' evening tonight? So you've got it's not finishing here. So thank you, and we'll leave you go to be able to get on with the next part of your evening. But thank you very much for what you're doing. Very impressive.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Enjoyed the opportunity to speak with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Great. That was really very interesting, wasn't it? Gosh, extremely interesting. Next item on the agenda is Part Neiriaeth Annual Report and Business Plan, and I'd like to welcome Ian Altman. So Ian, good to see you. And also I know that Councillor Robert Smith, Cabinet Member, and Helen Morgan-Rees are here as well to take part in this sort of session. So I don't know who's going to kick off.
I think it's me, Chair. So if I
Ian,
make
where
a
you
start
go.
in here. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not quite sure how I follow Emma and Leslie, but I'll do my best. So, as you'll be aware, Part Neiriaeth is now a commission service. So we work with the development of the education workforce across Swansea schools, and we now have a collaboration agreement between the three partner councils to pool resources and to ensure that it's a service that's providing what your schools require. So the report itself focuses on two main relevant documents for our work as a commissioned service for schools across Swansea, Carmarthenshire and Pembrokeshire. So in the appendix there is both the annual report from last year as well as the business plan moving into this year. So I'll reference both of those documents. So the professional learning for 24-25 business plan period was focused under two main priorities in that year. Priority one was linked to supporting schools and settings to design and deliver their own high quality provision across the areas that we support. And priority two was linked to the career pathways for leaders, practitioners and support staff at all levels of the system. So that was our teaching assistant learning pathway, and a range of different provisions for that very important part of the workforce. The work around the work for induction and NQTs and those professionals in the early stages of their careers, and also the work for future leaders in the system. So that included the aspiring middle leaders and the aspiring senior leaders, as well as support for those who are new and acting head teachers. So the report in Appendix A provides a financial overview, as well as an overview of engagement with schools, and also a perception survey. In addition, there's an evaluation of both professional learning in each area, as well as the bespoke and tailored support for schools, or a flavour of that bespoke and tailored support. We wouldn't include every day of support that we've given, but it gives a flavour of some of that support. So if I just draw your attention to a few relevant details of the annual report. It starts on page 18 of the pack. Page 22 gives you an overview of engagement with schools across the region. You'll see there that Swansea's received 35%, or 714 days of total support from us as a region in that period, and that's kind of exactly in line with the percentage of schools that Swansea's got in the partnership, in terms of how the work is accessed by your workforce in Swansea. There's also a summary of our annual Net Promoter Survey, or perception survey. We do have individual evaluations for each bit of professional learning and bespoke work we do in schools. So each professional learning event is evaluated, but this is just an opportunity to have that perception survey of how likely those engaged with our work are to really recommend us to others. And it's a simple question on a scale of 0 to 10, and those 8, 9 and 10s are considered to be our promoters, and that's a very quick capture of how the workforce and those engaged with the work feel about the service we've provided during the year. And again, that's presented to directors, and it's presented to our strategic group. There's also an opportunity for those practitioners to add comments and suggestions, and leave their contact details if they wish to have further conversations, so we can constantly improve the service and reflect on what we're doing, and ensure that we're providing something that is of value to each of our partner local authorities. So the report then goes on to break down each area supported into a summary page for professional learning, as well as a summary of some of the bespoke work that's taken place in 24-25. There is a further supplementary report that the directors have with more detail in, that was presented in June, and we've deliberately included a what difference do we make section this year, to try and make that evaluation a little bit sharper, and improve that evaluative focus really of the work. Some of it will take a bit longer to come through, as you would expect, and some of the work will be ongoing throughout 25-26. You'll also note the priority 2 is slightly different. It focuses on some of those national programmes that we've been providing, and we'll give you a number of delegates from each local authority, as well as feedbacks from those delegates in terms of the work we've done with your leaders, your aspiring leaders, your newly qualified teachers, and your teaching assistants across the local authorities. And you'll see the Swansea numbers in the report. So that annual report was taken to our strategic group on the 13th of June 2025, and was accepted in that meeting. So that's an evaluation, a bit of a look back on what we've provided during the 24-25 year. I don't know, Chair, if you'd like me to pause at that point just to see if there are any questions linked to that before I move on to the other document in the pack.
Great. Yeah, no. Any questions for Ian? Nobody's hand up. What I would ask is, obviously Partneriaeth has been through a range of changes over the last number of years since its formation. How do you think it's settling down? How do you think it's going?
I think it's settled down really well. I mean, what we've benefited from now is a much, I think, clearer vision in terms of what support is required from the local authorities. So that ability for my strategic group to look at what they're commissioning from us as an organisation has been really helpful. We've got a range of specialist staff there, and some of that was Leslie and Emma alluded to it in the previous session. They're able to provide really strong disciplinary support, and I think that's been really helpful for schools to understand what we're delivering, but also for our staff to be able to deliver in their specialism and to support high quality teaching and learning in your schools. So that's my reflection really over the last 12 months in terms of what it's felt like in terms of being a commission service and having that clarity of what my directors want delivered for their schools within their local authority.
Great, fine, thank you. Any other points? No, you can get on to part B. Oh, Robert.
Yeah, sorry, Chair, just to come in and kind of echo what Ian is saying, because I think he has reflected certainly what I was thinking in terms of this model of working now. There's clarity about what is being commissioned and how that's going to be delivered and who's delivering what. And I think that's something that's appropriate to where we are at the moment. And that's no criticism of any previous models. It's looking at where we are now and what we need now. And of course, what we've got to recognise is as things change, what's being commissioned will change and the way you're working may well change. It's giving that flexibility to be responsive to schools' needs as they exist at any given time. And I think that's the crucial thing here.
Okay, great, fine, thank you for that, Robert. Ian, over to you again.
Okay, yeah, so a bit of a forward or a current look really in terms of the document that's in Appendix B of the pack. So this is our business plan moving forward into 25-26. So our current business plan that was developed during the summer term. I think important to note, developed in collaboration with local authority officers and with schools to ensure that there is that genuine sense of collaboration, that we're writing this together, and it gives that clarity that Councillor Smith was talking about in terms of meeting the needs for the schools. And I think there's a full acceptance as an organisation that it may well look slightly different year on year given your needs as a local authority. So there are some slight changes really with the business plan. It's still 2 priorities. What we have deliberately made the reference in priority 1 to that high quality teaching and middle leadership as being 2 of the key areas that we would support across those subjects and those specialisms that we've got a team to do so that real focus on what does teaching and learning look like in a school. The mantra is very much we want to be in schools as much as possible supporting. I think some of the most effective support that we would deliver, and some of the work that Emma and Leslie were referencing earlier on, has come from in-school support that meets the needs of the school or cluster. I think the profession was kind of a bit overwhelmed by a huge professional learning offer previously, and having that ability to tailor it to meet the needs of the school rather than releasing staff to come to a series of events has probably been beneficial. So underneath this business plan, each of those areas then has a strategy on a page document. So it's a document that we've developed to look at some of the key priorities that we think are there for teaching and learning and leadership in each of those subject areas. And again, there's a real clear line of sight between what my officers are developing and what Swansea team are looking for in their schools. And I think it's allowed that much more cohesive approach really. So there's a much sharper focus, I would say, and really the strategy on a page documents ensure that professional learning offer is developed to meet the needs of the local authorities, but also I'm sure Helen will nod here, but avoiding that duplication, that we are providing something in addition to and adding value really to what local authority advisors and team can do. And I'm on the school improvement partnership boards in each local authority to hopefully support those conversations and make it as clear as possible. Sorry, Helen, shall I pause there?
Helen.
If I can come in, Chair, at that point.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
What we were trying to achieve was a rebalance to have more choice in our own local authority about how we would support schools with a range of school improvement activities, not just monitoring and evaluating them, but also following up that with support packages. So I think we've got a greater ability to do that in Swansea, but we still need to commission these services because we can't deliver it all on our own. And in terms of economies of scale, it does make sense for us to continue to work in partnership with others, so we can afford to have these secondary specialists. We've got a lot of secondary staff in partneriaeth, which we haven't got locally. So I think it is a good complementary and integrated service that we are really glad to be working with. And obviously we use our grant money largely to commission that service. So we obviously pay a proportion in to the commission service, and that equates to around 35%, and then hopefully we get out of it what we've paid in terms of value for money. But it's a lot more compact, it's scaled down, and it suits our needs in a far better way. So I think so far we're very pleased with how the transition has gone.
Okay, great, fine, thank you. Back to you then, Ian.
Thank you. Just finally, the second priority is really unchanged. I think there is still that commitment to support that workforce across the career pathways. So the teaching assistant provision, for example, is still there. We've got someone developing that across the local authorities. That induction in early careers piece and the NQT piece is still there. And we've also retained that provision to support future leaders and to enable them to work on their middle leadership and senior leadership skills, as well as supporting head teachers. So as always, the business plan has also got the appropriate local authority priorities in there, and I think it's just added to the cohesion. This isn't something that's a completely separate document. It's something that links into your priorities in Swansea around teaching and learning, leadership and disciplinary skills, etc. So it all feeds into something that is a cohesive service, hopefully, that's meeting the needs for you as a local authority. So that business plan was taken to and approved by my strategic group on the 12th of September this year. So we've got that document as our current business plan. And I will be updating my directors in November in terms of progress in meeting those. And we've got a tracking tool, as you'd imagine, to ensure that we're meeting the relevant KPIs underneath the business plan.
Okay, great, fine. Thank you, Ian. Any questions to Ian about that? Well, I would say you've come a long way and got there in the end. But it's really good to see that how you are delivering and supporting schools in the way that you are. So that is really, really good news. And big thanks to your team, really, for achieving that, and through all the changes that you've gone through as well. So thank you very much indeed. Any other questions, or if not, we'll go on to the next item. Can I thank Ian for coming along, and we look forward to hearing a report in the future, and the progress that's being made by partneriaeth. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Great. Right, there's only one item on the agenda now, and that is the work programme. Excuse me. And our next meeting is on the 23rd of October, and it's a visit to Gowerton Secondary School, Gowerton Comprehensive. And we've got a pre-meeting on the 20th. So anybody, any comments to make about that or any other item on the programme? If not, I'll thank you very much for attending and see you all soon. Thank you all very much. And can I should, before you go, thank Michelle, because for all the work she's put in to get the meeting together. So thank you all very much indeed.
Thank
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.